Okay, we're gonna watch
Ryan, I
this
want you.
video. This is a nice crossover for me, okay? Because I've said before that I love my boy Ryan Grimm right here. Okay? He's an incredible reporter. I, you know, he's my dude, my boy. I like him a lot. Um, Tim Dillon, I never watch, but I know that he is loosely associated, I think, with comedy, maybe, and like the Rogan Sphere, which is I don't know. I guess another thing that I that I sometimes commentate on. Um, so I guess yeah, let's see this mashup of my two favorite subjects, Tim Dillon and Ryan Grimm on the war in Iran. Let's see it. Tim Dillon, I think that he'll have some incredibly astute opinions on this.
Ryan, I want you to talk briefly about this incident that was very disturbing that I read about um, regarding an Iranian ship that got torpedoed by the U.S. Because it does just talk about how there is, I think, a misunderstanding from certain people as to the brutality of war in the sense of how truly evil things that happen during a war are, and how this is going to be seared into the minds of people. And it's so important for people in the U.S. to stand up and go, yeah, this is not something that we co-sign. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, this is a dark one, and India is actually roiled by this right now
Yeah.
because it implicates them. So the Indians, they love to project that they have hegemony in the kind of Indian Ocean, and they're the ones that are going to their navy's going to keep the Indian Ocean safe. And so toward that end, they host this biennial kind of little festival of ships. You
Yeah,
know, I think 70 countries,
right.
including Iran and the United States, sent ships to these two separate but related events, and they did a live fire drill.
And when did they do
Then
this?
when they did it from I think the February 17th to the 26th.
Gotcha.
So it wrapped up 48 hours before, maybe 36 hours before the war started.
Right.
They paraded on land. The U.S. pulled out of one of the two of these little festivals, but did participate in the other one with the Iranians. So like we're there, like with them, as part of the kind of peace protocol for these events. You're only supposed to bring enough ammunition, to
Wait
like,
a second.
fire off, during your little events. You're
Right.
not supposed to come
Wait a
all,
second. I did not know that. I did not know that they were also participating. Oh my God, dude.
kitted up in
Right.
a way that could cause, serious problems. Because also you're out there doing these complex coordinated drills. You don't want something to go wrong.
Right.
And so they try to keep it as safe as possible. And so then it starts to head back to Iran, and this is where we need more investigation. It appears that it was then held at a port for something like 11 hours near Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
or a Sri Lankan port, which we now people are suspicious was allowing kind of this nuclear sub to catch up to it. Um, there's also
Oh,
the
okay.
question of like how did they find the exact location? There's some in India they are speculating that the U.S. exploited its kind of joint intelligence network that it has built with India to get into the Indian system, and then because the Indians and the Iranians were, they invited the Iranian ship, and then they said goodbye to the Iranian ships. They knew exactly where
Oh
it
my
was.
gosh, dude.
So then the nuclear sub finds the ship and torpedoes it, and that the laws of
So this is insane to me. I did not understand all of the details going into this. I knew that America had like destroyed a what was essentially a like like a play acting ship, like a ship that like oh like yes, it's a real military ship, but like we're doing these drills like it's for like fakeness. I didn't know about the like that it was India who invited them and potentially India that gave them the intel that gave America the intel to then catch up and like just like annihilate this like ship of like I don't know. I assume like a bunch of people died, right? Like people were I'm assuming crewed on it unless if it was docked maybe they were off. I don't know, but like That's that's crazy. I remember there was a person on CNN too that they were like asking like, why would this ship the we annihilated your ship, haha, why wouldn't your ship have any like fight back or anything? It's like, oh, it wasn't, it only was there to do the naval exercises, like what? And also, yeah, this makes India look really bad. It makes India look like they were like actively involved in this shit.
War. The Geneva Conventions say that if it doesn't put your own ship at risk, you are obligated under international law to try to save
Okay,
drowning sailors. Like you have to do the bare minimum.
we are past
Also,
that.
under the kind of
We are past that. That might have existed back around like, uh, after World War II for a little bit, but yeah, we are way, 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 way past that. America ain't doing none of that shit.
common sense of humanity.
That's too woke, as Hegseth would say.
Like you see somebody
Yeah.
drowning, it's like a meme. You see somebody
Yeah.
drowning, like throw them a rope.
Right.
Like that's what
Yeah.
we
Woke.
do.
That's too woke.
We prosecuted a Nazi at Nuremberg for not doing that.
Right.
But often the Nazis
See that
did
Nazi?
do it.
Hegseth would think that Nazi was based. He was anti-woke. He let that person die. He let that person drown to death. That is so anti-woke. Way to go.
It's like we're below them at this point. So Sri Lanka's navy had to come out and get there as fast as they could, and they managed to save I think 32 people from drowning. More than 80
Okay, yeah.
Iranians died.
A lot
in
of
the,
people
died in
died.
the attack, and we posted the video as with the caption something like, "This Iranian ship thought it was safe, suckers. You're not." And so now the Indian, so this is
It's
interesting too. The
disgusting,
Indian
dude.
government is under enormous pressure because this is a slap in the face to them. If you noticed yesterday, Trump lifted sanctions on Russia when it came to selling oil to India. Remember a few months ago, the biggest thing that Trump was worked up about was that India was buying oil from Russia. And
Right.
he's like, I'm going to do 25% sanctions and for tariffs. I'm going to do 50% tariffs. You stop buying oil from Russia. Now it's all fine. India can buy oil from Russia, and we're lifting the sanctions on Russian oil. That to me feels like kind of blowback from this, like
Right.
that
Probably.
Modi's like, I need something here. You're killing me at home.
You gotta give me
you made us look
something.
like fools.
How do you
So
just
Putin will get billions out of this.
what do you think China and Russia? What
Putin's
is the
gonna be
lens?
Putin's gonna be fine now. Like they're gonna let the EU, like they're gonna relieve the sanctions for the EU as well, because the EU will not be able to contend with the like sky high gas prices that are about to come
through
through.
which they're viewing the current Iran conflict.
There was this really interesting argument being made by a guy for Barry Weiss's news outlet.
Sorry, I need to go back real quick. I didn't hear the beginning of that question.
Give me
You made us look
something.
like fools.
How do you
So
just
Putin
yeah.
will get billions out of this.
What do you think China and Russia? What is the lens
Oh,
through which
China and
they're
Russia.
viewing the current Iran conflict?
There was this really interesting argument being made by a guy for Barry Weiss's news outlet, Javi Rettinger. He's like,
Yeah.
Very wise.
he's like one of the smartest Israeli analysts out there, and so they
That's
sent
not
their
saying much.
their brightest light out there to make the best possible case they could that the war on Iran that the U.S. is waging is not actually for Israel. It's actually about China. And he lays out this case that there's oil that China gets from Iran. You can go read his case,
Yeah.
but it falls apart extremely quickly because yes, it's true that Iran exports something like 80 to
Dude, China is like I don't, I'll see what Ryan has to say first before I give my analysis.
90% of its oil to China. So you're like, oh, you see that number, you're like, wow, that really involves China a lot. That makes up something like 5 to 15% of Chinese imports.
Right.
They have plenty of oil that they can get from elsewhere. And also think about it.
Green energy,
If
dude.
we replace this government, if we manage to do a regime change,
Yeah, China also has a shit ton of green energy. Like they can get energy from not just oil as well, unlike us who are like 100% dependent on oil.
we put in a new government that Donald Trump says is wonderful, like finds his Delcy Rodriguez. Why would that country not sell oil to China?
To China.
Like that
It would make no sense.
of course, yeah, they'll sell it. They'll sell it to everybody. Like Iran will still be a country.
right.
It will still produce oil.
Yeah, it would
No
still
matter
have
what.
an economy, and one of their
Yeah, and so that's why I'm like that person's opinion is definitely kind of stupid. And Israel, not, I mean, it might be their best and the brightest. Like I said, Zionism destroys brain cells like faster than, I don't know, uh, alcohol. Like, but China was China, like he said, is not super dependent on Iran for oil, but also like if China enters this war, we are fucked. Like China, we're not going to be able to succeed at defeating Iran if Iran also has the help of China supplying it with more missiles, supplying it with more drones, supplying it with like all this shit. Like I said before, we can't outproduce Iran while they are incredibly under sanction. Like Iran can produce more drones and missiles under sanction than we can produce interceptors. We produce like 600 interceptors a year. Like they're producing thousands of missiles and drones per year. So imagine that, but also having like Chinese support and like the I just don't think China like this is going to impact China that much. Like, so I don't know. That guy, he's a little dingling. He needs to, learn a thing or two.
Still going to
Driving.
have an
Yeah.
economy unless Haviv is saying that what Trump really wants to do is blockade China from buying oil from anybody around the world. Like, is
And I'm
that?
sure China would have something to say about that.
I think they might. I
You
think
think
if
they might? What do you think about the chances of boots on the ground? Coming,
Ugh,
not coming?
pretty high.
I think the chances of special forces are getting pretty high.
Reportedly, we sent Kurdish troops in already with special forces.
Yes, and then as we reported,
yes,
actually
you guys, yeah.
immediately, it wasn't true.
Okay.
So that was fascinating.
Yeah.
That was leaked by the
Psyop.
Israelis, it seems. That the invasion, not the invasion is going to happen, because you can get that wrong.
Sure.
Or and then it doesn't end up happening. They said thousands of Kurdish fighters have invaded Iran and are currently fighting inside Iran.
Right.
That was the reporting from a bunch of outlets, and it clearly seemed to be sourced from Israel. We talked to all of these different Kurdish sources, and all of them are like, no, it's not happening. Like, not casting judgment on whether it should, but it literally is not happening. And then this Iranian Kurdish base inside Iraq was bombed, which maybe it was from Iran, who thought that the report.
Okay, Tim Dillon, you need to interject or something. This is getting a little too newsy for my liking. I thought this was gonna have some more funny jokes and stuff. Let's get the humor level up a little bit. Come on.
So true.
It can't all fall on me. I'm not in the best mood to be making funny jokes. I'm needing a little assistance right now.
Maybe it was from Israel, who's like trying to rile them up and say you need to go in there. We don't know. But it's not happening. Like, so the invasion is not happening. So the U.S. is putting enormous pressure on them to go in. The problem is, in 1991, we told the Kurds to rise up in northern Iraq.
Yeah.
They rose up, and then Saddam massacred them.
Exactly.
It's always the Kurds.
We then supported them in Syria to go against ISIS. And a couple months ago, we sold them out.
Yeah, it's our favorite pastime. Our favorite pastime is fucking over the Kurds. Like like that's what we do. Yeah, so I hope and I pray that they've learned their lesson at this point and like don't trust America. Like I don't know why I have to even say it, but like I get that like they feel a lack of hope and they're searching for hope anywhere they can find it, but to finally have like a nation state or whatever, but yeah, it's not going to come from America like people. Sorry.
Right.
So the Kurds have been saying publicly, got like, all right, 1991, that's one thing, and also all of the betrayals going back hundreds of years. But like, 91 is one thing. You sold us out like 2 months ago.
Right. That's insane. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So you think we're like, but they're still calculating, like, because they're under a lot of pressure to do it, and Bush and Obama were actually pretty decent for northern Iraq, the Kurdish region. So they're kind of, but they're comfortable too. They're like, we've got our autonomy. We're happy. Like,
why get involved?
Good. Like,
What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm hearing that Qatar is basically saying we want to pull our money out of the American economy. Saudi Arabia is, saying similar things. People are really upset out there. I mean, this could be a massive,
Hmm.
collapse financially here. I mean,
Yeah.
what is Jared Kushner doing right now? Is he calling these people on the phone, going, "Hey, relax"?
Yeah, he's got to, because he's so much of his business relies on the Gulf economy continuing to produce oil and gas and dollars, and then funneling those dollars into the grifts that the Trump organization, the Kushner organization are operating. Set aside the entire AI grift that is the U.S. economy at this point. Uh, Also, this should be obvious to people, but
Yeah, I'm curious if they actually will, though. The Gulf states are so intrinsically tied to U.S. power that I don't really see them extricating themselves from the U.S. economy. Like, um, I think that that would risk too much for them from like the U.S. like State Department getting pissed off at them. Like I don't know. I feel like they've really backed themselves into a corner with their strategic decisions over the past like 20 years. The Gulf states did.
that stuff is the backbone of everything else. Like if the oil and gas stop coming out, we stop making aluminum, we stop making chlorine,
Right,
like we stop
right.
making the copper, like the basics of our economy, and then we can't make semiconductors, and then and that happens as it's almost as if people forget, like March 2020. Like, you remember how quickly
Right.
like the entire world fell apart
Shut
from
down.
supply chain shocks?
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago. It's like, so that is kind of Iran's strategy, I think, is to say, like, they cannot withstand, like, they are already driven to absolute poverty and desperation by our sanctions.
Right.
So they're already there. So they can weather this.
Interesting. Interesting.